Well, hello, everybody, and happy Easter. It's 1 p.m. on Easter afternoon here in Florida, and I believe it's about 6 o'clock in London, England. My friend and my co-host, Rashmi Kalmani, is on the line. Hi, Rashmi. How are you?
Hi, Jeremy. Happy Easter to you and to all our listeners on both sides of the pond. It's freezing cold in London, and this has been going on for a long time now, so... here we are. It's a good opportunity to go within and, do some major inner spring cleaning.
Absolutely. Clean out the cobwebs. The emotional cobwebs. So, it's interesting because, a lot of people, I don't know if you've been experiencing this lately, where a lot of people are getting a lot of lucid dreaming. And so I think that might even be part of their spring cleaning, because things are surfacing in them that they need to look at and let go of or clean out or just rejoice about. I don't know if you're getting a lot of people talking about that.
Yes, definitely. I think, as we know, the veils between the different realities are thinning tremendously now, and some of us, like myself, we are a bridge between the old and the new, and therefore one little foot or part of the multidimensionality continues in 3D, but, a large part is in the fifth dimensional frequency, which is the now moment, and which is very much about the dream time, which the Aborigine natives in, for example, Australia understood so well. And it's like we literally dream the dream, and that's how we create reality moment to moment in a more conscious way, as we go along and raise our vibrations.
Yeah. And what I've been getting a lot lately, and I don't know if you've experienced this, is that if I can change my dreams, my inner dreams, then the world out here starts to change, because if my dreams are in flow, and we're not talking about my fantasizing, we're talking about my dreams. My dreams are in flow, then everything else starts to go in flow. And I think that's key. We can actually talk about that, because a lot of people will think I'm finding when you talk about dreams, they think you're wishing and hoping, but that's not what we're really talking about. We're talking about the dream world, the shamanic world, or the spirit world, where we can actually go in and be in flow in there and in harmony, and then change it. And then we can say, it'd be nice if I had this. And, if it comes in flow divinely, then it comes very freely to us. So.
Yes, it's the using the imagination from a space of the heart and the intuition and the inner knowingness, which can't come unless, we empty to receive, we become quiet, still, and, begin to release the mind, or at least witness the mind, because the other type of wishful thinking, etc., is a thinking mode, and that is a very narrow spectrum of creativity. So as more and more people on the planet begin to trust and relax and get still and be quiet and connect to the breath and detach and watch the thoughts, then one gets into these deep spaces of trance or altered states of being, which become really natural to some of us now, isn't it? It's like we could even be in those states sometimes in a supermarket, literally, couldn't we, Jeremy?
Absolutely.
If we've practiced enough stillness in other times and spaces during the schedule of the day or whatever. And that's really exciting, because when we create from the heart, and Drunvalo Melchizedek talks a lot about this, not the sort of romantic or emotional heart, but from the whole-brained heart, the heart that is, is this infinite love, which is everything. That is the manifest reality is this love energy, and so when we get into that space and ground that space by connecting the heart energy to the center of the heart of the earth and to the heart of the galactic core, which means we connect these as above, so below, as within, so without, heaven and earth energies within ourselves, which is what we are anyways, then that creativity, imagination, call it lucid dreaming, call it vision questing, or conscious co-creation happens very spontaneously, and it's not effortful, it's not pushing and pulling, it's not competitive, it's win-win, and it's a flow.
Yeah.
Do you feel that?
Because then you're not separate. Yeah, absolutely, because then you're not separate. You're in connected, you're in flow. Because when you say as above, so below, so within, so without, it just makes me just feel, it makes my heart sing, because it makes it, it reminds it, oh, that's the most blissful space, because it's the only space.
Right.
It's oneness.
Could you just speak a little louder, Jeremy?
Absolutely.
I don't know. I can hear you, but it is a little bit faint. Can you hear me?
I can
clearly?
hear you wonderfully. I can hear you.
Okay, that's fantastic. Well, the other day I had this dream, but, it was in the early morning time when you're, again, in that lucid state. You could be awake, you could be, you're not in deep sleep. And I was flying, and, a little bit like, when you go on the Boingy mattress thing, what are they called? But I was flying, and I was singing and dancing while I was flying around, and then coming back down and then going up again, a bit like in, the Cirque du Soleil. I don't know if you've seen that. It's a fantastic show that's been created out of France, and they do all this amazing dancing with ropes and things, and it literally like they're flying, across the Albert Hall, which is very high ceilings. So, and it felt to me in the dream like this is what I always do, and it's totally cool, and there's nothing unusual about it, And it felt more real than my waking state of being.
It does to me too, and I just I've been having these. I had a very deep dream where I was literally just not. I wouldn't say I was flying, but it was like suspended in the cosmos, but not held. Very free and liberated, and it was just this emptiness, which was probably the most relaxing and peaceful experience I've ever had. And I had that maybe a couple weeks ago. So I woke up from that dream and experienced it, and I was like, wow.
Beautiful.
And it felt very real. As a matter of fact, when I came back into the body, I felt the limitation in the body, but then I realized, wait, this isn't limited. It's only limited because I separate it from that. And I'm like, wow, that was, and I really think I'm getting a lot of people tell me, because they're calling me up and asking me, what just happened? I just had this experience where I felt weightless, or, people having orbs fly through their house, and they're getting, a lot of them were getting excited, and some are getting a little bit nervous because it's new to them.
Freaking out?
Yeah, freaking out. And I'm calling them up, and I said, well, you're changing. You're realizing your full potential. And, a lot of them have very young children. So the young children, their babies, their 2- and 3-year-olds, are becoming mommy and daddy's teachers.
Yes. Sort of rubbing their noses and objects are flying around. I'm just kidding. But, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the children just are so connected to those energies and the possibilities. So it's really time now for all of us to begin to step out of any kind of boxes, however big those boxes are, including the box of, I'm a New Ager and I only believe in eating organic food, or whatever it might be, making anything too fanatical and not balanced, because everything that we believe is our solid reality in 3D is all dismantling as we speak. So the way to not suffer these tidal waves of change is to learn to surf them, and it's actually extremely simple. If for example, a massive amount of water is coming at you, you can become water through an inner knowingness that you are actually 99% water anyways, and then you just flow with that, and that's how many people survive. The tsunami, tidal waves that happen. Many people lived through that experience because there was no resistance. They became one with that element and one with all that is. which is so beautifully explained, for example, in the book that many of our listeners have probably read, called The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. And it's a shamanic practice. But, even these words like, well, but I'm not shamanic, or I haven't had shamanic training, or whatever, none of these isms and labels and boxes, no matter how esoterically high, and, none of that matters anymore, because so many are just almost instantaneously awakening and will be awakening as time goes on. In this now time, which is just so exciting.
I found it really excited recently. There is these YouTube videos I saw recently, and there's a 20-year-old boy that's putting them out. Yeah, it's called Spirit Science. And back in 2010, he read Drumbolo's book on sacred geometry, and something just clicked in him.
The Flower of Life books,
Yeah, and so he's literally been traveling. He just started traveling around the world, and everyone, his family and friends, all just said, "How are you going to do this? You're crazy." And he's not only been to New Jersey, he spent a month in Australia, and he's somehow just done it. He's doing all these spirit science videos, teaching about the basic chakras and lucid dreaming and out-of-body experiences and sacred geometry. And I mean, this is just, it was validity to me to see that this kid just woke up, literally, to his full, and he's growing in his potential each day. And so it's showing me that the work that you've been doing for many years, the work I've been doing, it's paying off. It's really, we're just allowing. That's what he's doing. He's allowing the flow. And hey, here's a 20-year-old boy that's been all over the world.
Absolutely. I mean, for me, it started at conception. I was conceived in Egypt, and then I was born in India, and then as a baby, my first memories are of airplanes and flights and airports. And since then, that has been the mission since conception, to be in many different countries in the world. Currently, I have bases, and I'm working out of 3 continents, America, Europe, and Asia. And now it's so exciting because suddenly the grid work and the energy work that I've been doing strongly and practicing here in London, this part of the job is done, and it's time to create, help in the creation of a new portal of energy in Goa, possibly. But again, that plan might change again as well, moment to moment, but that's Absolutely. What it seems is going to happen next. And what the Ascended Masters and the Angelics are telling me is that so much work has been done for so long, raising consciousness in America and working on the spiritual leaders of America, and then, in Europe before that, and since then, and working all over the world, that now it's a time for some of us to go, for me in my journey as I'm sharing, to go to India and to go to Goa and really hold this energy of celebration, of song, dance, storytelling, being, allowing, meditating, connecting to the elements, and living simply, but beautifully. And then inviting people and beings from all over the cosmos. This is going to be a cosmic party. And this cosmic party is not a location, ultimately. It's within ourselves. And as we become that party within ourselves, then it starts manifesting on the outside. So logistically, it's not an easy thing to live in so many different continents, etc., but it actually becomes effortless and a joy, and even the challenges become a joy if one just sees that, one is all that is, and that this we can biolocate whenever we want anyways. I no longer need to physically go to the Great Pyramid of Giza to do my Reiki master initiations for my students or for myself. I can go there in trance stage, so out-of-body experiences, and so can everybody else. So now we have choice points of physically going to certain places, being in certain places, and many, many people are going to wake up to this. I don't know, just in today's news, Jeremy, because of what's happening in Cyprus, you've heard about that, right? In Europe, we're having a huge, the banks have frozen up the money, and a lot of the money has been sort of taken, I don't know what percentage it is. It's in the form of some sort. And the ATM machines were shut. And so now a lot of people have gone into this cyber money. I can't remember what it's called. is it called Bitcoin or something like that? And this is really rising in equity because people are so fed up of the banking systems. And a similar thing is beginning to happen in Canada.
Yeah, there's a lot of things going on. As a matter of fact, my friends I've been staying with for 6 months who've been very gracious to provide me with a space to be quiet in, and they are literally doing shows and education on this new, I think it's called the OPPPT. It's a group that sued the international banks and the corporate governments, and my friends are exercising their options within that judgment. With the banks.
That's wonderful.
At first,
and there's Bill Ballard. You've seen Bill Ballard on Facebook, and you can watch his YouTube shows. I mean, he's really got his energy in his heart center, and he's putting out a lot of the information, and I'm sharing a lot of the information on Facebook as well. But, again, it's a balance between what's happening in the world vis-a-vis the money systems and all. Everything's in a state of total flux, We've got many, many earthquakes happening. We've got the Korean situation now with nuclear warfare. We've got, the banking systems are rolling and shaking. Just about everything, as was, prophesized by many, and in my book, The Divine Mother Speaks, The Healing of the Human Heart, a few years ago, that this is a time of change, and let's just go with it. And for all the people that are going to stay stuck in competition, this is my right as an American or as a European or whatever, this is my advantage over somebody else, they are going to suffer tremendously. But for the people that are ready to become simple, to roll, to move with the tide, to change when they need to give up attachment unnecessarily. That doesn't mean, not enjoying what's at hand, but not clinging to it. If it goes, let it go. Because so much more is waiting for us, I had some plans for London where I thought, maybe we can create this heart song, heart dance, healing celebration system here. But it seems like things didn't work out here on that level, but something better is waiting for me somewhere else. So every time a door shuts, something better is waiting, or bigger, or a more expanded version of ourselves. Are you finding that in your life right now?
Well, that's fascinating because I came home to Florida off a tour, and I had all these plans, like this, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this. And then, that I went through all this stuff, and it didn't work out that way. Once I just got back into my flow and back into my heart, literally, and what I've learned is that ask and you shall receive. But also just know that everything is always taken care of, not in your time, in consciousness of time, and divine energy is time. And it's really I just chuckled because all those plans, and then, I thought to myself, it's okay to dream and have some things in your mind that you want to do, but just put it out there and say to God, in divine timing and divine order, if this is my divine plan. And I've found that things just unfold faster than I could ever imagine. And, maybe not exactly the way I like it. And I really, that was one of the things I wanted to talk about today. I'm glad we're on it because, who knows? I might end up in India with a house right next to you.
Well, this is the plan, is to make it a place where many people will come. Already many people are going to a place like Goa. There are many eco-friendly villages already happening there. There's already a lot of organic stuff happening. There's a lot of celebration happening. But, some of us are going to create new types of community. And this doesn't even have to be essentially a linear situation. It could just be an organic happening where there's no I am the head of this thing and I'm the president of this thing, and it just happens because it's already there, and you go and you help to raise the frequency. How and why? By raising your own frequency, because you're always in that zone of nothingness, of beingness, of allowingness, of the divine feminine energies, and the energy of, yes, well, I'm in flow and I'm a spiritual princess, but if I have to sleep on the floor, I will, and that's okay. But meanwhile, if I get a 4-poster bed with lovely mosquito nets right next to the sea, fantastic, So being able to adapt and being able to consider everybody in the equation, including oneself, not missing oneself out in the equation, because that's so important, I've done massive amount of work with these 3 books, The Divine Mother Speaks, The Buddha Speaks, and now Shiva Speaks coming out. And it's a massive amount of work that goes into not just channeling these books, but, then getting them out there, going through the typesetting. Jeremy, what it's all about. And to have done 3 in such quick succession, my heart now is in this heart song, heart dance, painting, cooking, the global village, dancing, telling stories around the fire, in a beautiful place where it isn't always freezing cold, etc. And not because I'm running away from the freezing cold, because if tomorrow then, the project is to come back to Europe or America or Iceland or wherever it is, then one will be on the aeroplane doing that. And where does the money come from? How do things happen? I was given 2 lovely weeks in Delhi now in the middle of this freezing weather, and that was very nice to reconnect to people and celebration and my mother's 81st birthday. But there were challenges as well. My family has a lot of money, and there's a whole load of mess up on that, and it's gone on for many years. And now it looks like whatever little I was going to receive may or may not happen. And that's fine, too, because, Babaji is my bank. Babaji stands for me for the Christ yogic energies of Mahavatar Babaji, Lord Shiva. And it's just a representation of my own higher self. Well, that source energy is my bank. And that source energy is the flow. And so, and the flow is beyond paper money or gold or silver or whatever it is. And yet within that, I still have to tie my camel. So I'm doing best within my intelligence now to move whatever resources I have to wherever I feel they can keep expanding or at least be preserved a little bit so that I can continue to serve the higher good for everybody, including celebration for myself, which is all one anyways.
Absolutely. And I've found, too, is that God provides us with just enough, and sometimes an abundance of just enough, but it depends. So, and it might be, I had an experience in October where a good amount of money came in, and I laughed because I was caught up in the ego, and I spent that money on something that I had clearly and intuitively heard, don't do it. And basically it was to pay my publicist, and I could have called her and said, hey, hold off for a couple months, and I didn't. And so what ended up happening?
Actually, we had a chat on that, and I said, don't go overboard. At the time, I think you forgot me, but I do remember saying, we are all throwing so much money on our books, and people think, we're earning all this money, but there's a lot of money that goes into it. So,
right. Yeah. So it was funny that
you learned something, right?
I did. I spent that money, and what ended up happening is I got behind. I got caught up very fast. But the purpose is that then when I got caught up, I heard all you have to do is listen and be in flow. That's all you have to do. And so people out there that are listening, if we're looking at talking about manifesting abundance, what abundance is something totally different. God literally gave me that time and gave me that extra money so that I had also if I would have done it correct, in flow, 3.5 weeks I would have had to be quiet. And instead, I spent that 3.5 weeks worried, upset, trying to figure it out. And so when I actually shut up, then it all came back into flow. And so, but when I'm telling you guys the story because, yes, Rashmi told me at a dinner in Charlottesville, but the other thing is that we're going to make things like this. We're going to make these the world would call mistakes, but they're actually perfect because I grew from it.
They're perfect, yeah.
So
because you learn something, and that's what we're here to do.
Absolutely.
We're not here to reach a particular point, like when I'm in the 5th dimension, well, then I can just, chill. We already are that which we wish to become. We already are supreme reality. We already are all that is, but we've forgotten because the mind has made us feel and think that we are this separate person, this separate body, these different labels of, country, nationality, profession, qualities, etc. But we actually are all that is. And as we make these mistakes, as Jeremy is so beautifully sharing, we begin to unravel that illusion of the mind and come into the center, which is the heart energy. So shall we just take a moment now for all of us to connect to this heart energy?
Absolutely.
All right, so let's just take some deep breaths in and long breaths out and connect to the heart and just allow that. And if it's peaceful, that's lovely. And if it's flapping, just breathe into it. It's okay. And then let's just chant Om, the primordial sound, which is a healing, beautiful sound of all that is, of oneness, from the heart to the heart of Mother Earth. And then just breathe. And then feel Mother Earth's energy and love coming into the body. And this is an energy of a tremendous flow, tremendous abundance. Nature is not limited. It's not poverty-stricken or anything like that. So breathe in this lovely flow from earth, heart to heart. Do you feel that, Jeremy?
Oh, yeah. Heart's opened up.
And then
everything's opening up.
Sorry?
I was just saying everything's opening up. So.
And then connect the heart, the physical heart, the heart of the epicenter of this space of current beingness, time-space beingness, pure beingness, to the center of the galactic core, or see it as Father Sky, or see it as the cosmic energies. It doesn't really matter. The names, don't get stuck on the names and don't get stuck in the head. So breathe in deep if you can. Connect to cosmos. Feel the expansion. Feel your connection to many universes, many stars, and beyond. And now feel that energy of expansiveness, of infinite possibilities come through galactic heart to your heart. It's all one anyways. And now breathe in heaven and earth, and on an out breath open the 1,000 petal of your lotus heart within a golden bubble of safety and protection. Breathe in heaven and earth. Be gentle. How does your heart feel? Take a moment now as we chant Om 2 more times, opening the 1,000 petal lotus on the out breath, to feel self-love, to really feel it, and to bring in your guides. And all is one, You are one with Archangel Metatron. You are one with all the great celestial beings and the ascended masters, Jesus, Buddha. Whatever you believe or feel is right for you, you are one with it. You're not separate from it. So feel the self-love as we chant Om now, in the heart. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace within, peace without, peace to all beings everywhere. So gently you can come out of this space now, but remember that it's always with you. And how does that feel, Jeremy?
Very open. I love it.
Expansive?
Very, very expansive.
And did you feel some self-love?
Most definitely. Most definitely.
Yes. You felt all the shoulds and coulds and mustn'ts dissolve?
All fall away.
Yes. Fabulous, guys. So Jeremy, what do you feel is your biggest challenge right now on your journey, on your incredible journey there? Are you trying to reach a certain point, and are you in some sort of race to reach that point? No, I'm kidding.
No, I would. When I got back, I was it was interesting. I came off with this very relaxing space, and, but now I've been really in just a good space for probably about a month now. Maybe it's because I turned 39 a few weeks ago. I don't know. But I've been in this
energy
really
shooting up.
Yeah,
so,
and I've been seeing myself. And this is something I wanted to share with everybody. I've been seeing myself. I call myself as divine royalty. I say we're all divine royalty. So if we're going to see ourselves as that in the heart, and we see ourselves just in flow as divine creators, then all of it comes. So I've been seeing that in my mind and feeling it in my heart, and I've been watching the world unfold and literally treat me as divine royalty as I've been treating them. And so because what we put out there, we get back tenfold. And so it's that's where it's just brought me into the now and the moment. And when I start to pull out of the now and the moment, I hear this little voice in my head that says, "Jared, now and the moment." And then I've got, oh yeah, back in balance. So it's
that's lovely. That's absolutely right. Like when I affirm within myself that I am a goddess grounded here on earth, and that everybody and I are one, then it's amazing how various people say, "Hey, goddess, how are you doing?"
Yeah.
And I haven't said a word outside. I'm just moving around in the world, almost looking dysfunctional sometimes. My hair's not always perfect, and my weight has gone up a bit from all this traveling and living in hotels. And yet, if that's the energy of the within, then the outside reflects that. And then the honoring, as you so beautifully just shared, Jeremy, is not that, I'm this and the other person's, dirty rascal. No. Everybody has that energy, including people that we feel we disagree with,
Right.
Like with my family members right now, they're on one track, I'm on a different track, and they're always worried about when is this spiritual princess going to lose her money. But it's been now 25 years since I left my rich homes and my very super rich husband, and have lived, this life of meditation, healing, teaching Reiki masters and practitioners and other modalities of energy medicine, writing the books, being an interior decorator, doing spiritual film, all these different things. And it doesn't stop, And yes, there are times when you have to be a little bit, simpler, and other times when, I've been staying at the Omni Hotel for 4 years. Now, that's a miracle, because when I checked in, it was for one night, and I thought, oh, my God, my ex-boyfriend's paying for this, and then I got to get out of there into a motel. But Babaji kept me there for 4 years, and he said, the bills are being paid, and no man is paying the bills for you. It's just happening through divine grace and through your trust and your brave heart. So, and the work that you're doing is fabulous, so it's not like you're just sitting there, being a rich girl. You're doing tremendous work, and I don't drive a car, so it was a perfect place to be, because in the downtown mall you can get around. Otherwise, in America, without a car, can you imagine? And one gets to all sorts of places.
Yeah, and I've watched so many people be like that, and then finally I said, wait a second, what's it they're doing that I'm not doing? Oh, I'm still trying to figure it out. And so when I
it's not a doing thing, you see, because when you hold that energy of stillness, then you're totally in that zone.
Yep.
And then things just happen for you.
That's actually what
you're doing something, but you don't feel you're doing it. It's just a flow, it spontaneously occurs, and it's not a huge effort.
I had that happen to me recently, in that there was just, once we're in that flow, you'll start getting validation after validation after validation after validation. Well, one of them that happened recently is this last week. Somebody gave me tickets to the hockey game, and they were not cheap tickets, and we walked in, and I just thought we were just going to a hockey game. I didn't realize that I was going to be walking into the club section where there was unlimited food and unlimited drink, and all these people, the people working there were in suits, and it was very elegant. And here I am, seeing myself as divine royalty, being treated, very much like that. And then we sat in box seats watching the hockey game, and I was just smiling because I was like, thank you, God, for this validation, because, and then I hear in my mind, there is nothing less than the best for a child of God. And absolutely. I was like, whoa. And so
absolutely. People think that to be spiritual is to be poor, and that's nonsense, But ultimately, as Osho says, if you're poor, enjoy that because it has its advantages. And if you're rich, enjoy that because that has other different advantages.
Yep.
But if we don't feel that, it's when you're feeling this divineness within yourself, Jeremy, that's when you have the frequency. And the frequency is very important. It's much more important than buying stocks and shares and, networking with all the rich people, etc. That's all outer stuff. Because the truth is, if we have the inner frequency of royalty, then even if we have no money, we're royalty, like Shirdi Sai Baba, who was a fakir, he was just this vagabond. He had no money and he would just sit there. And I don't know if you've seen pictures of him. He's absolutely, glowing with light. And people would just come and fall at his feet and just bring everything to him, gold, silver, you name it, because he had that inner vibration of divine royalty, which each and every one of us is. We're all sparkling, amazing beings of light. When I did my Reiki Master course years and years ago, the channel said that they're calling you the Diamond of the Raj. The Raj being India. And this was, of course, a spiritual context. And so now Babaji's saying, well, you're going to come back to India. And I said, oh, my God, Guru Mai told me and many other gurus that my role was to be a spiritual teacher in the West. And he says, no, now it's time for you to come to the East because it's all one anyways. And it's all integrating and becoming one. And as the Diamond of the Raj, you will be treated like that. It doesn't matter whether you inherit the money from your father and grandfather and, the family is fair or not fair to you. You've been in a flow and you're trusting, and because you hold that very high frequency of spiritual princesshood, you will always attract that to you. Even if you land up living in a cardboard box outside Charing Cross, it'll be quite a designer sort of cardboard box,
I expect that if you had a cardboard box, you still have your beautiful purses and stuff sitting there.
And then if you've got to let those go, then you let them go, which I've had to do many times. I've given them to my lovely young friends in America or wherever, and they get so thrilled, when they get one of those handbags. They feel very happy, and I feel so happy. So if we just keep moving the thing as well, that really helps, as Osho so beautifully explains. You've got to keep it rolling, but not in a way to go into debt. So debt consciousness is all based on control, on what other people think, on the outside world, on, limitation and all the guilt and shame and blame that many of us have received in our conditioning, from various authority figures, That's not who we are. We're all innocent. And it takes just minutes, or it's not such a difficult process anymore because the energy is so high. If we just intend that I'm innocent, then boom, we come to innocence. Then the next time we feel shame, we just gently bring ourselves back to innocence. Deserving, Jeremy, you've been able to do all these things because you really feel, and I feel that you feel, and tell me if I'm wrong, that you deserve the very best in life.
Absolutely. And I'm going to tell you, and I want to share this with everybody because I didn't used to think that. I projected that I thought that. Because I had good jobs and all that stuff, and had nice offices. And,
it was
but in my mind, I thought I had thought I had to work for it, work hard for it. But now, the last probably 4 years of my life has just been one thing after another. The fact that. And then I have to look back and I just have to go, wow, you really did that. That's just utterly incredible. And I'm
allowed it.
And I don't make a lot of money. But somehow, my big lesson has been I'm abundant.
Exactly.
And
the
and
frequency, the vibration, that is everything. And otherwise you could have millions in the bank, but either you'll still feel stingy, or you'll feel you don't have the money, or I'll feel that, I don't have the health, or I'll feel maybe that I still have no money. So it's got nothing to do with the actual, outer thing of how many houses or whatever. It's an inner thing.
And the other thing I want to add on there, and I know, Rashmi, you can agree with this, with both of us, I roll with some pretty cool people. You know what I mean? And so do you.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just my friends. I have friends everywhere, all over the world, and I have some amazing conversations. And energetically, I have some pretty high vibration friends, and I love them. I love you. And there's a lot of people out there that are doing heavy work, and so. I know we're doing the work, and we flow together, and we work these shows together, and then we do other things together. I'm sure you and I will be working at a gathering together one day and doing energy work.
Yeah, and I think you'll come to India, and I'll be back in the States, of course, for my third book. And when our film is completed, I'm having to learn Rashmi lessons of patience, which is my huge lesson in this lifetime. But it will happen, and. I think it's just so important for us to remember that it's all inner work. It's got nothing to do with the outside. And nobody, even, however great the teachers out there or gurus or, however amazing I might be at teaching Reiki or other forms of healing modalities, or you might be at helping people, Jeremy, ultimately each and every one of us has to do it for ourselves. And yes, we can have the help, and we can have the support, and we can have the initiations, but the energy now on the planet is there for everybody. And this energy is pushing us towards heaven on earth. Heaven on earth is an abundant place. It's got no lack. It's got no money issues. As I've said for years, and it's been channeled in my books for a long time, these are the last days of money as we know it. These are the last days of lack as we know it, of war and all the rest of it. But meanwhile, of course, we have to transmute that which the separation has caused.
I really feel that. I really feel it's going to be, and I don't feel it, I know it. I think what people are going to be seeing is more of their lives are just going to be in flow. There's going to be a mutual exchange of energy that's going to be happening, and maybe it'll happen. Maybe there'll be some kind of monetary, but I don't think it's going to be what we think it is. I really feel that, because I've just been watching this. I'll actually say to myself, I want to be in flow with my meals, and people will call me up and ask me, could you bring something for dinner, to be a part of our dinner and have dinner with us? And I'm like, absolutely. And that's coming together.
That's what happens in India all the time.
And that's what I love.
In India, everybody's sharing all the time. Even the beggars are sharing, There's such a high level of sharing that goes on that even if there's poverty, there's not that many people that are dying of starvation. And if they are, they're choosing that,
Yeah.
Because there's loads of rich people and other people and middle-class people and even beggars that are richer than the ones that have no money that are very happy to say, okay, I got a cup of tea, here's half a cup of tea. There's so much abundance there in spite of the so-called poverty. So it's all choice points for everybody, We can choose, and I think it's really important to understand this lesson of sharing, because through sharing we make everything so much bigger, And that's what it's all about, No matter what I have, I want to share it. And as a result, God just keeps sending me more. Now I've set up this new home here, and I've kept it as relatively simple. It's very elegant, but I didn't accumulate too much stuff. But, today we took my ex-boyfriend arrived, Enoch. He's a noble soul, and, we just put bags and bags of stuff outside Oxfam. This stuff is going to go to Syria and so many places, And if we just keep doing that and helping people the whole time, then how can we not, have everything we want plus, because we're so in a flow and we're so not clinging to stuff. You see?
Yeah. Yeah, and, the other thing I want to put out there is that when you guys go out and, let's say, pay for your electric bill or go grocery shopping, you're paying the whole. And that's hard for people to understand. Like when I go to the grocery store and I swipe my debit card for groceries, I'm actually paying myself because I'm a part of that. I am that whole, not the individual ego, but even that's part of it. And so I realized that because that's why it comes back tenfold, because I put that out there, and that goes out to the people working there, that goes out to the people making that food and putting it together, and then it comes back to me tenfold because the universe is an abundant supplier, and it's going to keep on coming back to you. And but when you swipe that debit card, then you just blocked everything, and my house just popped as I said that. So.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, that's just so important. Is what is the attitude? You know, I think last year I sold my little flat in Delhi to continue to serve humanity, and none of these were logical or sensible choices vis-a-vis the mind and the rat race. You know, but I do what I do. You know, that's why I live a life of magic. But I had to pay £30,000 to bring £100,000 to England. So I said to Enoch, you know, my friend, wise soul that he is, I said, you know, this is crazy. And he said, rejoice in paying tax to India. Rejoice in it, you know. I said, you're absolutely right. So I rejoiced. Now I'm taking that same money back. So in a way, it was like a total waste of £30,000. But, you know, it's exactly what you've just shared, Jeremy, that money is tied to the whole. It's tied to, you know, the bridges and the roads and the infrastructure in Goa that I'm going to go and enjoy, and so is everybody else enjoying.
Yeah. And so just put it out there. And you know, your higher self, your higher aspect of yourself will say when to do something and not to do something. But the other thing we do is that we go out there and we spend, and it becomes an addiction. And then, you know, like we go out to eat every day, you know 2 or 3 times a day, and I get myself caught in that myself. There's nothing wrong with that, but you may need to be at home, you know, preparing your food, putting the love into preparing your food, or just relaxing with your family, or, you know, or the loved ones around you, and so you needed that nourishment, the love nourishment, the universal nourishment that comes with the interaction, or just being by yourself with God. So there's just a lot of times you just got to follow your soul, and it'll tell you exactly where to go.
Exactly, and it's not black and white because, you know, yes, some of the taxes go towards military and this, that, but one is guided, you know, when to be part of the system and when not to be part of the system. And the good news is the systems are collapsing, and we're coming to the system which is of the people, for the people, by the people, whether it's this OPPT or, you know, various things that are happening, and they're just organically happening, and we're all going to begin to help each other more and more. And if we don't, we're going to suffer more and more. It's that simple, really. Which brings us to the point of simplicity. You know, I think that is just an absolute key in times to come.
Absolutely. I've been living with it's funny. In the past 6 months, I've lived with my bed and my 2 dogs and my laptop and my cell phone. And I have just a couple. I used to have 2 walk-in closets full of clothes, and now I have just I still have what was in my suitcase on tour because I haven't gone into my storage to go get the rest of it out. But I haven't felt the need to have all that stuff.
Yeah.
And you know, and it's just very simple.
It's so freeing. And that's how, you know, one has been able to travel all over the world and jump on airplanes and live in 3 continents and create all that one has created, is through each time I've given up stuff. You know, I gave up my temple here where, you know, Reiki masters and people came from all over the world to study. It was a big thing because it was very beautiful and people would come and sing there, and it went on for 15 years, very major healing. But giving it up, you know, suddenly it freed me to do all the things and the miracles of the film and the books and the work on all those leaders and people. You know, none of that could have happened by my holding on to everything that I already had. When I left the 15 homes, I went so deep into meditation and to simplicity. That couldn't have happened at the time if I hadn't let those things go. And yet sometimes it's to embrace flow again. And ultimately it's not about whether you have the flow or you don't have the flow, vis-a-vis the money part, you know, the richness part. It's just about moment to moment, as Jeremy just so beautifully shared. It's that guidance moment to moment that comes from the within. It's an inner knowingness. It feels right or it doesn't feel right. And taking a deep breath and asking for help, you know, or asking for guidance, or asking, you know, being vulnerable Sonia Pascal, this other beautiful being of light that I do this other radio show with, I'm going to do another one next month. She was sharing so beautifully on Facebook about the power of vulnerability, and that out of this vulnerability comes so much creativity and the new. And it's absolutely true, isn't it, Jeremy, that when we become humble, this has been quite a humbling process coming back to England and going into my cave and going deep within again and, not just high-flying out there as the authoress and all the other things that are happening. And from that vulnerability and various other challenges, it comes the new, doesn't it? Because you go to zero. You go to the 0 point that we're all in, from which all things are possible.
Yep. If I wouldn't have come back and, been humbled, I wouldn't have a clear direction. I've also came back, I don't know if you noticed this, I came back and I was around my circle on a more of a regular basis, and I saw them for who they were, as not that they're in bad places, just saw them for who they were and loving them for where they're at. It was very humbling for me because I got to look at them and not be caught up in the day-to-days with them because I hadn't been with them in months, and coming to see them and loving them and saying, wow, it's so cool to see how we're all on our different paths. But not the great part was letting go of them and letting them be where they're at. And that's and I think that's also simplifying too, because oftentimes we get really caught up in all of our friends' lives and our families' lives, and then we don't spend time in the now of the moment with us, with ourselves.
Very important.
I really got to really practice that and process that and go, because I would see people, doing things or arguing or caught up in the same story, and then I get to go back and look and say, well, Jeremy, where are you caught up in your story? So it was very beautiful because I get to actually do this, and every person out there on this planet is doing this and the ones that are practicing, the teachers that are going within, or the healers, or the ones that are just practicing this, they're getting to experience on a daily basis the blessings of seeing their stories and understanding themselves on a deeper perspective. And I think that's really the work. It's really just understanding and getting closer.
That's so important, because it's not really about getting famous out there. It's not about how many followers do I have. I mean, all that can be extremely tiring and have nothing to do with self-realization. Yeah. And I'm not saying it does or it doesn't, because it's not black and white, But the truth is that if we can help shift consciousness by really shifting ourselves, then that's the ultimate service to humanity and to ourselves and to the cosmos. Not how many followers we have and how many books we sold or any of that stuff, Yeah. If that's meant to happen, it's going to happen, and if it isn't, it isn't. In fact, the truth is if you have too many followers, you carry a huge load with you. Or you get given the energy and the grace to deal with that. But to just, there's a whole load of teachers out there that are so busy fixing other people, And, we've all been in those spaces at times. I mean, when I started my healing journey, I was quite evangelistic about it, I wanted, from a good place of intention of, I can't watch people suffer. But as you so wisely have shared just now, Jeremy, if people choose to suffer, well, then that's their choice. We have no right to impose what we want on them, even if that is paradise.
Yeah. They got to find their own paradise, and they're going to find it in their own time.
Their timing is very important, and their free will is very important.
Yep.
So my family has their own free will and their own timing, and I have no right to interfere with that. On the other hand, I'm not going to allow them to encroach on my freedom either. I love them, I respect them, I honor them. If they can learn to love and respect themselves and honor me, that's fantastic. And to the extent that they do, I'm very grateful. But it's not up to me to impose my wisdom upon them or anything else, or for them to do it on me, Because that takes away the other person's freedom and their freedom of free will. And even God can't do that, and God doesn't do that, which is why, people say, why is there suffering? If you're a great healer, why can't you fix everything? But that's not what it's about.
Yeah, it's an experiencing world. And if I did it for you, I'd take away your experience.
It's a free choice world. It's a world where we come to to learn, to experience, and we sometimes want to experience blindness. So if my guidance is that this person has completed their experience of blindness, and now I can facilitate as a mirror for their healing journey, which actually they do themselves, and I'm just a clear mirror for that. Or the guidance may be, no, they are choosing this blindness, and they may be saying, their personality self might be saying, we want to be healed of blindness, but actually that's what their soul has come to experience, because all of this is ultimately an illusion and a game.
Yep.
So, Jeremy, you understand the game of life, right? That this is all divine play.
Yep, I do.
And so we shouldn't, the mind takes it all very, very seriously. And then the subject of, out there and all the YouTube shows and the various things, one of the problems continues to be this business of the dark is outside of ourselves and, the Illuminati this and the dark forces that and the good ETs and the bad ETs and the good and the bad. And, no matter how high on whichever dimension we go to, we're still talking about the good, the bad, the horrid, the judgments. So it's okay to discern. It's okay even to label things within 3D reality because that's the way our language is structured. But ultimately there are no labels, and there certainly isn't any dark outside of ourselves because we are all that is, and therefore that darkness ultimately is within us, and we can only work on our own darkness because it's not about going and fixing outer darkness. As we shift ourselves, then that outer darkness will either shift or we'll move away from it.
Absolutely. We want to get out of the duality. And I actually just did a presentation on that about Into Darkness, and I called it, and I started talking about the Gnostics and when they talked about the archons. And I said that the archons are within our consciousness. And to say that they're separate is to not understand the full capacity of who you are. And, I got a lot of opposition to that because
it's still dualistic being, isn't it, in the name of so-called highfalutin dimensions and all this, I'm talking about some of the really important spiritual teachers out there. Bless them, they keep asking the same one question. How do we deal with the Illuminati? Well, I'm not saying it's an invalid question or it's a bad question. It's a very important question. But at some point in one's evolution, one has to realize that this isn't a separate. There's no separation, right?
Yeah, we have to love them, be truthful, but love. And I found that because
they are us. They are us.
Yep. Well, can you believe we've come to almost an hour? I got 2 minutes left. We were in flow.
Well, we send our listeners a lot of love and light and joy and, energy of trusting and relaxing through these incredible changes that we're all going through, and compassion for ourselves and others. Thank you, Jeremy, so much for organizing this.
You're most
and
welcome.
Thank you to our listeners for listening.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. And just so you know, if you want to check out Rashmi's website, it's below in the description, and my website, and you can check out her book, The Buddha Speaks, The Buddha Nature Within, and The Divine Mother Speaks on Amazon, and you can check out mine on Amazon as well. So.
And Shiva Speaks is coming out. It's supposed to come out in March, but we've had some mess ups. So hopefully in April you'll be able to buy it on Kindle. And it's a very important book because it's all about Shiva energy, which is the archetypal energy of the destruction of that which no longer serves for the new creation. So emptying the chalice so that the new energies and elixirs of heaven on earth can be poured in. So thank you, Jeremy. Many, many blessings. And if I do move to Goa in a couple of months' time, I hope very much that you and many of our listeners will visit and that we will celebrate under the stars.
I am looking forward to it. And blessings to you. I'll talk to you soon.
Lots of love. Bye-bye.
Bye.